Tonight, it is all things Mizzou. Grab a drink and join us on tonight's tailgate. So hey, thank you for joining us tonight on the tailgate. As always, I am Luke, and I'm joined with
Dennis.
Oops, that was wrong. That was the wrong camera there, Dennis.
My bad.
No, that was my bad. That was totally my bad. Yeah, and I'm Michael.
And then tonight we are pleased to have with us Jarod Hamilton from Power Mizzou. Jarod, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing all right. How you guys doing today?
We're doing really well. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
No problem. No problem. Let's talk some Missouri football.
Oh yeah,
That's right.
it's a heartbreaker for me. Obviously, I'm an Ohio State fan, so it's always hard to be around a Mizzou fan right now. But
It's not a heartbreaker for me. Y'all stand on business, so I'm not worried about it.
that's right.
My dad is he's from Cleveland. He's an Ohio State. He's an Ohio State guy too. So
Gotcha.
I grew up mostly watching them. So I mean, for me, I'm glad when Missouri does well because it helps me out.
For sure. Yeah.
but I get it. I get your point of view. He wasn't so sure going in with so many players maybe not being able to play in that game. But
Sure.
I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, for sure. So were you from Cleveland?
No, I'm sorry. Oh, got too much going on. Also, I want to let you guys know. So I just got a new MacBook.
Okay.
I got it this week. So if you're hearing ding, I don't even know how to turn the sound off on here. So if you hear something, I apologize.
No, you're good.
Oh, that's my bad. But
You're good.
no, I'm an Army brat. So my dad,
Okay.
he was born and raised in Cleveland, but I've literally been all around the country. But I grew up mostly in Charlotte, North Carolina. So that's
Gotcha.
that's typically where I tell people I'm from.
Okay. So how did you come to Mizzou?
Yeah, so I graduated from North Carolina A&T in 2021. I had an internship with the Tuscaloosa News, so I was doing a little bit of covering high school sports and a little bit of Alabama stuff. After I graduated,
Okay.
got a job from that same promotion, or I was working with USA Today, so from that same network paper, was working at Jackson Sun, which is kind of doing local sports in West Tennessee, maybe an hour from Memphis, and then maybe almost a year into that, I had a mentor. He went to Missouri, and he showed me the job listing for Power Mizzou and connected me with my editor and my boss, Gabe. And when we hit it off pretty quickly, and now I've been doing this I'm going on season 3 right now, covering Missouri.
Awesome.
Nice.
That's a cool journey there.
Right.
And so with the changes that Missouri basically has been able to do, you think they would actually be able to keep up their this past season's success to this new season?
I think so. For them, I can't remember the exact percentage, but they're bringing back a lot of key players on offense and defense. They're returning like 8 starters on offense. I want to say 5 or 6. I got to think that over in my head, but they got about 5 or 6 guys on defense returning. They kept everybody on their coaching staff except the defensive coordinator and the edge coach and Blake Baker and Kevin Peoples. They both went to LSU, but they feel real comfortable with the coaches they brought in to replace them, and Corey Batoon and Brian Early, guys who've got 20 to 30 years of experience coaching, guys who've put players in the league, guys who actually coached a similar tight system that was in place before. So it's not going to be that much of a shakeup. And then when you look at their schedule this year, I mean, it's hard for me to look at that schedule and say, how could you really do anything less than 10-2? But I mean, with Alabama and Oklahoma being those key games, I had someone ask me the other day though, if they just go 10-2 and they lose to Alabama and Oklahoma, can they get in the playoff with that? Because the rest of their schedule is not heavy. They don't have a Georgia. They don't have LSU, I think, Tennessee, or Texas.
Nope.
I feel like those 4 are not on their schedule. So, like, that's also a good point. But it's hard for me to see them not winning 10 games with all the talent they're bringing back. And then, what they've got going in recruiting and how things have been going. They should be in the mix.
Are you, by any chance, nervous the fact that Corey Batoon previously was coach at FBS and then to kind of jump into he was coaching at South Alabama, so suddenly coaching at Missouri, which is like SEC, and you're gonna be playing a lot quicker offenses, better just general players. Are you at all concerned about that kind of motion?
Um, no, because he's got that experience, the 20 plus years. He's put in his dues somewhere, and like I believe their head coach Kane I don't know Womack
Womack, yeah.
can't, yeah, he went to Alabama, and when they were doing their thing at South Alabama, it seemed like more of a pair, a partnership when they was calling the defense. So I mean, if he can go to Alabama, he's coming to Missouri. Sometimes I think it's more of a, do you got the guys? I know we don't like, you have to be able to coach these players up for sure. But sometimes, like when you're at Hawaii, to be honest, like you're not getting all the elite prospects and things like that. And when you're at South Alabama, you're not getting all those guys. You may be getting the guys who were trying to get to those FBS schools, those Power 5 schools, and maybe just couldn't get in. So sometimes it's about, do you have the guys for it? And I think when he comes up here, you can really see what he can do once he has the guys. So I feel like it's going to take a little bit, into the season for us to know if it's him or, if it's the coaching or if it's the players that, kind of make up this thing.
Yeah, so you mentioned it a little bit. You got, I pulled it up. You've got 10 players that actually declared for the draft. At least according to this, 13 that are left in the portal, and you have 11 that came in from the portal. So kind of a two-part question here. Who are some of the guys that you're seeing, like the big name guys that you're really excited to see, the guys that are coming in, and then who is kind of the one player that you're really excited about, whether that's a recruit who's going to get his time in the spotlight, or a transfer player in. So who's that player for you, that guy that you're watching?
Spring ball wrapped up maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago for Missouri. They usually do theirs a little bit early. So going into spring ball, it was the running back position. It was 2 of them. So Marcus Carroll from Georgia State and Nate Noel from App State. Losing Cody Schrader, who I feel like a lot of people know about in his story and things like that. That's a heck of a way for him to go out with the season he had, the Burroughsworth Trophy, finishing the top 10 in Heisman and all that stuff. But how are they going to replace that type of production? Marcus Carroll was 10th in the country in rushing. I feel like the number was 1,350 as far as his rushing yards. I want to say he had maybe 9, 10, 11 touchdowns, something like that. Right. When I look at him physically, almost to like the weight, him and Cody Schrader, almost the same player. They got the same rugged styles as a north and south type of runner. He's still got a little burst. If you give him too much room, he can take break off a big run. But he's that type of guy. And then you got Nate Noel, who's more of a receiving back. He really impressed during spring ball. You could tell he was impressing the coaching staff with just how well he was as a receiving back. And he's one of those guys that they can flex out and put him at wide receiver. So it's kind of been wondering, how are they going to do it? And based off what the coaches said at the end of spring ball, it seemed like it's a 1A, 1B thing. So we'll see going into fall camp. But I say just those 2 running backs right there.
Gotcha. A little bit more running back by committee than last year with just Schrader. Well, the one award that nobody really talks about that Schrader won was the Tailgate Award. So
he did. We had an award.
We had an award.
Okay.
It's not that big of a deal. So.
Nope.
But, so tell me about it. Tell me about it.
So we did a Tailgate Award, which was the player that started off the year kind of as like an unknown, but became kind of the highlight of their team. Michael picked Cody Schrader. I think I picked Noah Fafita.
Yeah, I picked Dylan Johnson.
Dylan Johnson from Washington. So Cody Schrader pulled that one away, and I think that was well deserved. He was a fun guy to watch.
Oh yeah.
Except for his last game. I didn't like watching his last game. So, but
I loved watching him tear up Tennessee's defense. That was fun. Honestly, like I was just like
records as well.
I mean,
yeah.
You have to just enjoy it. You have to watch those and enjoy it and just go, it's my team that they're beating, but it's still pretty. It still is pretty.
Yeah. I mean, again, Tennessee had one of the best front 7 on the defensive side last year, and the fact that he was able to just destroy them was impressive. And so I have to hand it to him. It's one of the reasons why I nominated him, because I had a ton of confidence. I think he's going to be, if he makes it to the right team in the pros, he could be a pretty dangerous weapon. He's a smaller guy, but he works hard. He works hard.
I kind of see him as that Pat Tillman
Sure.
It's got kind of like a little bit smaller, kind of big, but just kind of that workhorse power over you. I think he's
Tillman. He was a safety.
not Pat Tillman. Who am I thinking of? Who was the running back? Tampa Bay. Why am I? It'll come to me. It'll come to me. But what are you thinking of?
Podcast.
Yeah.
We don't do pros.
That's right. Once they leave college, we don't care anymore. What about your quarterback? I think is it Brady Cook that's going to be running it for you? How was he looking in spring?
Oh, this is absolutely his team, without a question.
Sure.
See, around this time last year, he didn't even participate because he had the torn labrum surgery he was recovering from, and they had Jake Garcia come in. They had Sam Horn, and it was a chance for those guys to make kind of a two-man race, and they didn't. But once the season kicked off, once they beat Kansas State, I guess the first game was versus South Dakota, and him and Sam Horn split a half, and then the second game, I want to say versus MTSU, they didn't really switch out. Now MTSU made the game a little closer than they needed to, so they couldn't really try anything. But even in that game, going to that game, they're like, okay, he's their guy. And then after that game, he's definitely their guy. Then once the Kansas State game happened, it wasn't just the team, the fan base started falling, I guess, in love with him because he was a polarizing figure in 2022. It was really divided as far as, is he the guy or is he not the guy? But going into this year, he's for sure the guy. He looked pretty good in spring ball. His chemistry with his receivers. I mean, I don't know how often this happens in college football, but to bring back your top 7 receivers, that's unheard of. Yeah. And one of them being, I've already heard projections of the number 1 overall pick. I don't think that's going to happen simply because there hasn't been a number 1 overall wide receiver since Keyshawn Johnson in '96.
96.
That's not going to happen. But top 10 player, coming back, and then you got a good number 2 in Theo Weiss. He looked excellent in spring ball.
Yeah. Awesome. Fair enough. Well, so what other big news is coming out of Missouri or Columbus? Just from a standpoint of you obviously have got spring ball. You've been talking about that. You've got transfer portal, all that stuff. What other big things are coming? I know that Josh Pate hit on a couple of weeks ago about a $15 million donation that you guys got for just for your NIL and for other things for facilities. What other big things are you seeing there?
So it's an interesting time right now because to be honest, in a way, you don't want the team you're well, I mean, for me, it doesn't matter. But if you're a Missouri fan, you don't want your team in the news at this point because it's usually nothing good. There's nothing good that's happening in April that you want to be like, oh, this player's it's not anything good.
You don't want to have Georgia's running back issues.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunately that's what I'm thinking. When it comes to Georgia, they just all the stuff they got going on, or you just don't want your players or team in the news like that. So in a way, they're in a really good spot as far as there's no drama going on. They've got a good bulk of their team. The feeling going out of spring ball is when the portal opens up. I think it opens up next week. That they're not going into the portal saying we need to have this or we need to get that. It's really a best player available situation.
Okay.
And they may be able to get one of these best players. Now there will be a couple where they say, you're definitely going to you may definitely compete for a starting role or to be in the rotation. But if you just absolutely cut it off and there was no spring portal, they wouldn't be complaining about it too much. So that's good from that standpoint. As far as NIL, I think it was maybe a $60 million something donation they got to that's crazy. That's crazy money. But they're trying to build out their North Concourse, trying to expand it, get just make it bigger. Because if you go to a Missouri game ever and you go versus other SEC stadiums, you notice it's much smaller than the capacities around.
Y'all.
I always forget the number. It's between 62 and 67,000.
Y'all are trying to rival Vanderbilt. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, but for the most part, when you go to other SEC stadiums, they're large, they're huge.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to build that out, especially with the momentum they got.
Sure.
Recruiting's going well, and then recently they just got Matt Zollers, I think that's how you pronounce it. Number 1 quarterback from the state of Pennsylvania, 4-star guy who's
nice.
their number one QB they was trying to get for 2025, and they beat out Penn State, Georgia, Pitt. feel like I'm missing another one. But they beat out some marquee teams to get him. So
Nice.
it's just a ball of momentum for them right now.
Man, I feel like everybody's leaving Pennsylvania. Penn State, Ohio State got 2 corners from Pennsylvania. You guys got their best quarterback. I mean, it's like, why don't people want to stay at Penn State? I mean, hey, I'm not going to question it, but
I couldn't. I don't know. I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell you.
Missouri could. They're like, hey, let's go to Missouri.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm sure there's plenty of factors, maybe a little bit that probably got something to do with that.
I would guess.
Yeah, but even on the field, when you're not the middle of the pack, like how Missouri people expect them to be usually in the SEC, when you can show that you can beat, a top 15 team in Tennessee and have 3 other ranked wins on the way there, you're going to get those eyes, and it's going to be more of a national thing. You're not going to just have to fight to keep your guys, because there was a point in time where, a very recent point in time, where they can't keep their guys, like Ezekiel Elliott and things of that nature. So being able to get their guys and then to expand, that's what happens when you keep winning.
Very true. Now, you mentioned the spring portal. Are there any guys that you mentioned 7 receivers all coming back? Is there any worry about anybody leaving, or you think that this is just going to be one of those, like you said, it's just going to be some guys who may go somewhere for playing time or something like that?
They actually had this morning, and this is the first that I can remember in a good minute, maybe since like the start of the calendar year, that they've had people go into the portal. And no disrespect, but there were players who were not playing or were going to play, so it wasn't any major losses. I don't expect there to be a significant major loss, but you never know. You can wake up and someone is just like, I don't know, their third receiver, Mookie Cooper, former Ohio State Buckeye, he told us, like, I was thinking about entering the portal after the season.
Interesting.
And I didn't, but he made it honest, like, I was thinking about it. And so I can't tell you if there's one person that will be like, oh, we know for sure. Usually the people we think are going to the portal are the kind of like the guys who left today, who haven't really got playing time and stuff like that. And then as far as people they may get in the portal, I could tell you positions. I couldn't tell you. I know you didn't ask, but I could tell you positions. I don't know if there's a specific person they're like, that's a for sure get.
Yeah. What positions do you think they'll be looking at?
Offensively, the only true hole they got is right guard.
Okay.
They moved Cameron Johnson, who was starting at right guard, to left guard. He was an all-conference player at Houston there at left guard in 2022. So he's going back to that position, and because the left guard was originally the place they had the hole at, so now it's right guard. They've got some people competing for it. They've got a 4-star guy, a redshirt 4-star, and Logan Reichert, they call him Big Show. So if you're wrestling fans, you kind of get the reference. He's huge, 6'8", like 260. 360, excuse me. He's a big guy. They're trying to work him in, and they got some other pieces, but that may be something they're attacking hard in the portal. The last time I talked to Coach Drinkwitz, he said like they're going to be aggressive in this portal. So you can see it, there. Maybe possibly another cornerback. I think they're confident in what they have, but depth doesn't hurt them too much. And then again, it's really best player available, which is if you're a fan, you want that to be your situation for your team, where you just say whoever is good out there, let's have them. So
there's nothing better than being able to just go, we like our guys, and if there's somebody better out there, come on, join the team. But that's a great place to be in.
Absolutely.
So you kind of hinted at it a little bit earlier as to like what your expectation is, but like what's your, like, as a fan, like do you legitimately think that you guys, and you can be all homer if you want to, which is perfectly fine. It's a safe space here. Do you feel like you guys have a chance of not only getting to the playoffs, but actually have the steam to get to the national championship?
Oh, it's funny. I was asked this earlier. So first off, I am honestly, I'm not a fan. This is what I tell people. I would like Missouri sports in all ways to do well, because when they do well, more people read, more people want to talk to me, do things like this. So from that aspect, I'll tell you, most journalists think, yes, I would like for him to do well. As a fan, I'm not a fan, so I'm giving you everything I'm telling you is kind of an objective thing.
Okay.
Yes, I think they're playoff contenders, for sure, and especially being 12 teams, definitely. That schedule, you have to, and you almost have to win 11 games. You got to get Oklahoma or Alabama. You can't be slipping through the cracks. You can't have no random loss to UMass or Mississippi State or whatever.
UMass.
You can't have none of that.
Just call it season end.
But you've gotta capitalize on this schedule, and with the release of the 2025 schedule, this kind of applies to that year too. 2025 SEC schedule, you got the same schedule, home and home series basically. So you got 2 years of a pretty favorable schedule in the SEC. Yeah, you got to be a playoff contender. As far as them being national title contenders, because they don't have I feel like it's Oklahoma. I looked up. Oklahoma plays 3 or 4 ranked games before they face Missouri, and it's either week 9 or week 11. I get them and Alabama mixed up where they are, but they play so many ranked teams, so they can afford to lose to Missouri maybe, and still, you can say, oh, well, they beat this team, and all that good stuff. Missouri doesn't have that. If they lose to Alabama and then they lose to Oklahoma, can you tell someone's a national title contender? I don't think so. So they kind of got to show something by, if they beat Alabama, you would instantly think, oh, yeah, they're probably a title contender. And if Oklahoma's really good and they beat them, that's one thing. If Oklahoma's kind of like they were last year, 9-3, it's just like, yeah, playoff contender, but that doesn't tell me you can win the title. So I think that Alabama game is probably the biggest one on the schedule.
Fair enough.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Jarod, we appreciate you being on. We thank you very much. That was some awesome. I appreciate the truth. I'm not a fan. I love it.
Not. Some people get upset at me, but that's not my job. My job is not to cheer them on. I just report what I am told and what I see. And so I know they're happy now because what I'm saying is probably what they want to hear.
Right.
When they were going 6-6 in my first year, they were just kind of like, man, this guy, he's a hater. I'm just telling you how it is, man.
How dare you speak the truth?
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, we definitely appreciate it. Do you mind just your Twitter, where we can find you, where we can read your stuff?
Yeah, so all my work is on powermizzou.com. You guys can follow me on Twitter or X. I'm going to still call it Twitter. I'm sorry. Gerard C. Hamilton, JARODCHAMILTON. That's where I'm at.
Awesome. Yeah, you can't really tweet on X. That doesn't sound right. So.
Yeah, I don't know what they call it, so I'm just going to leave it Twitter to me.
Right. Well, awesome. Well, thank you again, and hopefully we'll see you and talk to you again later on in the season.
For sure. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.